Hi, this is an overview of the NASA Artemis missions, which will be returning humans to the surface of the moon in the coming years. This will be happening in the next 5 years or so, maybe 10. Okay, so baseline, this is Earth, Moon. This dotted orbit around the Earth, NASA has wisely already decided that for flights to and from Earth orbit missions, basically flying to the space station and back, that SpaceX and the Falcon and the Dragon have done a fabulous job of providing this capability and doing it safely. And so that's not what this is about. SpaceX doesn't yet have a vehicle that will do this next part, which is why NASA has developed its own for many reasons. So the new vehicle, spaceship, space rocket that NASA is developing and testing later this week is called the SLS, Space Launch System. And it is derived from the space shuttle. It has the two external solid rocket boosters, just like the shuttle had, and the orange fuel tank in the middle, just like the shuttle had. And they propped some engines on the bottom, rockets on the bottom of the, directly on the bottom of the tank. Whereas these engines, there were 3 of them on the shuttle, and they were attached to the orbiter vehicle, the piece that looked like an airplane. And now they're attached to the tank directly. There is no airplane piece. And at the tippy top is where the crew rides, and they're in a capsule similar to what Apollo used, a conical capsule called the Orion. So when the SLS or the Artemis launches, most of the rocket falls back to Earth and is reused, but the capsule remains with the crew on board. This is the capsule, Orion. This is the piece that traverses out to the moon, which again, SpaceX does not have a vehicle that can do this yet, not with the power. And actually there's a little extra piece on the bottom of the capsule that contains some rocket motors so that they can thrust to and from the moon, and it has some solar panels for collecting electricity and some other pieces that help the command and control of the capsule. But this is literally just the piece that returns to Earth here. Okay, so we're taking a couple days and we're arriving at lunar orbit, and this vehicle does not land on the moon. It docks with something called the Lunar Gateway. The Lunar Gateway is this little drawing, and the Lunar Gateway is permanently orbiting the moon. The Lunar Gateway also does not land on the moon or leave the moon. It just encircles the moon constantly in orbits and has habitats and power and stuff for human habitation. So the astronauts dock with this and exit the capsule, get into the Lunar Gateway, and the Lunar Gateway will also have a piece attached called a lunar lander. The lunar lander is where they board and after maybe, let's say, a day of resetting, and the lunar lander is what comes and touches down on the moon. So I've labeled the Gateway B. There's different concepts for the Gateway, and different space contractors are vying to build that and design that, and it's a market competition that NASA is overseeing. And I will in a subsequent text show you some of the Lunar Gateway possibilities. And then the lander, labeled C, is also subject to space contractors market competition, and NASA has 3 potential developers for the lunar lander. One of those is SpaceX. Elon Musk has proposed that his Starship spacecraft, the one we've been watching the test flights in Texas, where it's been doing those flip around maneuvers and landing on its own bottom. That is called the Starship, and Musk has proposed that Starship could be a potential lunar lander, that it would dock to this thing and then go down to the moon and then come back up. And it would also bring supplies down, not just people. Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin attempted to include themselves into this bidding process and contract competition. And at first they did not have a competitive bid and NASA excluded them. But then they whined to Congress, and Congress is forcing NASA to consider the Blue Origin design as well. And then a third competitor that you probably haven't heard of is also developing lunar lander, something like Dynamics or something like that. I'll send you that in a link. Okay, so then they do this business on the moon, and then they launch back up to the Lunar Gateway. They climb back into the Orion capsule. The Orion capsule thrusts them back to Earth, and there's a splashdown in the ocean where the astronauts are recovered, and everybody has a great mission to the moon. The Lunar Gateway stays right where it was. It's ready for the next group of astronauts to arrive.